Hello and welcome to another episode of the Asian Seller Podcast. I'm your host, Meghla Bhardwaj, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about reviews. Now, of course, reviews are super important if you want to sell on Amazon and if you want to rank at all. And to talk about reviews, I have with me Colleen from eComEngine. Hi, Colleen. How are you doing today?
Hello. Hey, everybody. Doing well. Thank you.
Staying safe, staying indoors, quarantined.
That's right. Living the quarantine life. So
Yeah.
thinking about all of our friends globally right now. So
Awesome. So, Colleen, very excited to talk about reviews. We haven't really talked about reviews on this podcast previously. And of course, it is so important to have, a decent number of reviews on your listings to be ranked on Amazon. So before we get into talking about reviews, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. How long have you been in the e-commerce industry and what exactly do you do with eComEngine?
Sure. So I've been in e-commerce for about a dozen years, but with eComEngine specifically for 5 years. So I'm a business development manager at eComEngine, and I work with both Amazon sellers as well as just a lot of thought leaders in the industry, just like you. So at eComEngine, we have sellers in over 100 different countries across 10 different Amazon marketplaces. So just working with them on a daily basis, making sure that they have the education, the resources, the tools that they need is our main job. But at eComEngine, of course, we do have some software tools. But me personally is really just making sure that I can provide the marketing value, the education and resources that sellers need. So we do a lot of webinars, we have a blog, and I just love learning, what's going on in the market. It's obviously ever changing. Amazon's exciting. So it's a lot of fun. I'm also at a lot of conferences. I may have seen, some of you out there at the Prosper Show or some other conferences over the years.
Yeah, we need to bring you to Hong Kong now for Global Sources Summit.
I know.
So tell us a little bit about eComEngine. It's been around for quite a while. I think it was one of maybe the first software tools for Amazon, right?
Right. So eComEngine started in 2007, and we have the very first feedback and review management tool for Amazon sellers. It's called FeedbackFive, which many sellers in the industry are very familiar with. Mm-hmm. And then we have several other tools in our suite of products. We have an inventory management tool for FBA sellers. It's called Restock Pro. We have a pricing tool called Smart Price, and we have a sourcing tool called Market Scout. So there's 4 different tools in our suite, and we've been around for about 12 years. And like I said earlier, we have our tools support just the Amazon marketplace, but in 10 different marketplaces, and we have sellers all over the world.
Do you also support Amazon India and Amazon Singapore? These 2 marketplaces?
Amazon India, yes. Australia, all the European marketplaces, Mexico, Canada, and of course .com. So not quite Singapore yet. So.
Okay, yeah, it's a very new and upcoming marketplace. So how are reviews affected in the current environment, with coronavirus and all of the sales in Amazon basically in disarray?
Right. That's a good question. Just like really every business, every industry is affected right now. And even sellers, it depends. I mean, if some sellers are seeing a lot fewer sales, fewer orders, that means fewer reviews, fewer opportunities for reviews. Feedback is still important for similar reasons, because fewer orders means that one single negative feedback can have a bad impact on your order defect rate. So if you're not having as many orders, then that percentage of that one negative feedback can really impact your order defect rate. Amazon had that announcement just a couple weeks ago that they were temporarily disabling shipment creation for products other than those in the high demand categories, the essentials, the medical supplies, household staples. So of course, sellers that are in those categories might be seeing a big increase in orders. I say it depends, because it depends on, what you sell as a seller. If you're in one of those high demand categories, you might be doing really well and flourishing. If you're not in one of those categories, then things have obviously changed a lot for you. Amazon's announcement about the temporarily disabling the shipment creations is till April 5th, but who knows at this point, everything's changing day to day, week by week. So April 5th, that could be extended. But with that temporary, change, some sellers have switched from FBA to fulfillment by merchant. And now that they're fulfilling their own products, They're in charge of their own shipping, packaging. That can also really affect their feedback if things aren't being shipped on time. So keeping an eye on your feedback, and if you do receive any negative feedback, I'd recommend set up alerts or get notifications. So if you get negative feedback, you can respond quickly. Just keeping an eye on your reviews for your products as well to maintain, that they're still getting good reviews, or comment publicly in line if you do get negative reviews. Everybody's very stressed right now, and it's an emotional time. So it's hard to say, people also might be very grateful and might be more likely to give those positive reviews right now. Mm-hmm. But it's stressful too that, if they're not getting the things on time, they're more likely to leave negative feedback. So I think just keeping an eye on your feedback, keeping an eye on your reviews, comment and respond both to the feedback to the buyer as well as inline publicly to the reviews, so other potential buyers can see what you're saying and protect your brand. Just really keeping an eye on things is important.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of the sellers who are doing FBM, that's an issue too, because of course, all logistics is affected by coronavirus. There are lockdowns in cities, and if Amazon cannot do deliveries, how can we expect the smaller warehouses to have enough workers and to have trucks and things like that going out for logistics? So yeah, it's very challenging. I mean, FBM is a good alternative to FBA, but it might not always work efficiently in the current scenario.
Right.
So how exactly do reviews help sellers? I mean, of course we know that the rankings are better, but do you really need to get more reviews if you have a lot already, or is a certain number enough? Or just talk us through a little bit about the importance of reviews and how many do we really need?
Sure. So, I mean, reviews are crucial to the success on Amazon. They impact your visibility on Amazon, as well as the ability to advertise. Some of the advertising programs, you have to have a minimum number of reviews or a minimum review score. They also provide social proof. If you put yourself in the shoes of a consumer, good versus bad reviews, they help you make that purchase decision. So they tell you if a brand is reliable or trustworthy. The more recent reviews also share if your product is still relevant in the market. So as far as the quantity goes, some experts say that you need at least 21 reviews to be successful. But the formula, I say in air quotes, is having a good quantity of reviews combined with good quality, combined with recency. So if you're continually getting good quality reviews and good quantity on a regular basis, so that you always have some recent reviews, then you're likely to be very successful with that product. There's many sellers that think, oh, I already have over 100 reviews, I don't need to worry about that anymore. But if you haven't had any reviews in 6 months and your competitor is still getting recent reviews, if a potential buyer is comparing those two products, yours is going to look like it's older, it's not the more modern, the more up-to-date version. So the recent reviews really show that your product is still relevant. So yes, it is still important to continue to get reviews on a regular basis.
Right. And as consumers, we do read reviews, right? I mean, of course, we look at the star rating and everything. And, that's the first thing that people look at. But I think if you're really interested in buying a product, you will go ahead and read the reviews and see what, especially what I do is I click on the 1-star reviews and see what kinds of negative things people are saying about the product.
Yeah, what's the absolute worst review?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and Amazon's trained us, they've trained, our culture now is, we buy based on reviews and hearing what other people have to say about the product.
Exactly. So how do low star reviews affect rankings? Of course, they affect, social proof and all of that. Like when you see a low star ranking, you really don't want to, buy the product because you think that there might be something wrong with it. But in terms of the algorithm, does that have a very significant impact on ranking?
Yes, it does. And it's not something to panic about if you just get 1 or 2 negative reviews, as long as you have a lot of positive reviews as well. The problem comes in is when your negative reviews are starting to outweigh your positive. So making sure that you have at least, a 4-star review or higher is what your goal should be. Really, if you have a perfect 100%, if you have 100 reviews and they're all 5-star reviews, sometimes that can actually look negative from the social proof standpoint, that it seems a little too perfect. Were they incentivizing reviews? It just seems a little shady. So sometimes having a 4.5 or 4.7 is actually good from a social proof standpoint. But yes, from the buy box algorithm, just making sure that you have strong feedback and strong reviews, with at least 4 stars or higher, to make sure that, that you're in the positive side of that. There's always going to be competition out there. There's a lot of factors that go into the buy box algorithm: your price, your order defect rate, your product reviews. So, the big secret of the algorithm, we just know all the factors that go into it. So I can't say exactly if you move from this point to this point, how dramatic it's going to change you, because there's just so many factors that are involved. But making sure that when you do have a negative review, that you're responding in line publicly, then at least it lets other buyers know that you are very responsive, that you're a good brand, you stand behind your products. So even if you have a negative review, give them the confidence that they can still order that product, and you will stand behind it if something breaks or something happens, based on how they've responded. And then similar with your negative feedback, you want to make sure that you're responding timely. A lot of times a negative feedback will turn into a positive in the end. So if you, maybe something didn't arrive on time and you apologize, you explain to the situation, or maybe the packaging, something broke in the packaging, so you just shipped them a new item, and they may have been so satisfied that they ended up updating their rating from a 2 or 3-star review to a 4 or 5-star. And the negative feedback, you can request for them to update negative feedback. You cannot request for a buyer to update their review. They may choose to do that on their own, but you cannot ask them to change a review. So.
Right. And how effective do you think is the early reviewer program for getting reviews? Is that very effective?
So yeah, like a lot of programs, there's pros and cons. So I've kind of heard mixed reviews. And for those who aren't familiar with the early reviewer program, the requirements are that you have to have less than 5 reviews on your product. You must have a product that has a price value of at least $9, and it must be brand registered. Now, it's only $60 per ASIN to be enrolled in the early reviewer program. So I personally would say it's worth giving it a shot. With the early reviewer program, Amazon will ask folks who have purchased the item to write a review, and in return, they'll give them like a $1 or $3 gift card to Amazon. So the reviewer does not know that that's what they're getting, but they will receive that on the back end. It's just, you don't know how long it will take to get the 5 reviews, which is how many reviews that you're supposed to get in the program. And you stay in the program for up to a year, or until you get 5 reviews, whichever comes first. You just don't know how long that's going to take to get those 5 reviews. But I have heard, some people who are launching new products, that this has been a great way to really jumpstart or kickstart their reviews. But it's kind of a mixed bag. I've heard mixed reviews. So, some of it might be based on the product. Having a good quality product is always, number one. That if you have a good product, you're going to do well regardless.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you have a good listing and images and description and all of those things, there's a high chance.
So there's a lot of factors. So it's hard to say, is it the program that didn't work in the situations that I heard it didn't work so well, or were there other factors? So, but I have heard some good success stories with it. So again, it's about $60 in ASIN. So it's not, it's a minimal investment for if you're launching a new product to try to get those first 5 reviews.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course there are so many black hat tactics out there, right, for getting reviews and manipulating rankings and things like that. But let's focus on the white hat, practices over here. So what are some of the TOS compliant, effective ways to get reviews nowadays?
Yeah, and getting purchased reviews that are verified can be very challenging. And I would just like you said, focus on the white hat tactics. You can feel the pressure to cave in and do some black hat things, but if you're not following Amazon terms of service, you'll get caught eventually, and it's not worth risking your business. Yeah. So there are several Amazon approved programs. One is the early reviewer program, which we just mentioned, which again is great if you're launching a new product. There's also Amazon Vine, which I'll talk about. There's a brand new request a review button in Seller Central. So I'll share a little bit about that as well. But Amazon Vine, there have been a couple changes recently. One is that as of December 2019, Amazon Vine used to only be available to vendors. And in December, they quietly rolled it out to all sellers. So sellers can now use Amazon Vine. And so this is also great for launching new products. But as long as you have less than 30 reviews, your product is eligible. Again, it does have to be brand registered. And the way that this works is there's a group of reviewers called Vine Voices that Amazon reaches out to the Vine Voices once your product is enrolled in this program. And the Vine Voices can receive your product for free and in return for writing a review. And the Vine Voices reviews tend to be more valuable because they're very well versed in writing reviews. They've seen a lot of products, reviewed a lot of products, so they know how to write a really good, strong review to help you. So, so Vine has been a good program for many, many people out there. The other big change, though, just as of 2 weeks ago, when Amazon addressed the pandemic and the disabling the temporary, the shipment creation, they also temporarily paused Amazon Vine. So, so I don't have information as to when this will be reopened, but about 2 weeks ago, it kind of went on a temporary hiatus due to the pandemic. So when I have more information, I'll let you know, but it has traditionally been a good program. So for vendors, it used to be pretty expensive. It could cost like $2,500 a product, but for sellers, when they opened it up to sellers, there's no cost up front. But as you enroll, there could be some costs. I've heard different things. So it's definitely something to look into, but I would say it seems like every program they roll out, brand registry is key. So whether it's Early Reviewer, Amazon Vine, or some new program that Amazon comes up with, they want products to be enrolled in brand registry. So if your products are not enrolled in brand registry, I would highly recommend trying to make that happen. So yeah, so Vine is a great program. It's just on pause right now. And then the request a review button is also new. That is in Seller Central. So it can be found on the order details page. So if you go to the order details for your order, there's a little gray button that says request a review, and you just click it and Amazon will send a message directly to your buyer for that order. The message includes a review request and a feedback request and an image of the item that was purchased. So this is the safest way to request reviews because the message is going directly from Amazon to your buyer. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of sellers that have been suspended or restricted for things that they've said in their email content using buyer-seller messaging. And the good news is those that have been restricted from buyer-seller messaging, they can still use this request a review button. So, so that's good news. And Amazon's definitely encouraging sellers to use this button. And again, it's the safest way to request a review. Since Amazon's sending the message themselves, you don't have to worry about the content. And supposedly Amazon has tested the content too. They've done a lot of A/B testing on their own because they want more reviews. They want it to be a good experience for the customer, for the sellers. So the content that they've prepared, they've already optimized, to work well.
Right.
And the message also is automatically translated. So as it is sent to the buyer has settings in their Amazon account for what their preferred language is. And this message will automatically be translated in the buyer's preferred language. So that's another benefit as well, that you don't have to worry about professionally translating your emails.
Right. So on average, what's the percentage of buyers that actually leave a review? Is it like 10%, 30%, 40%?
Yeah, and unfortunately it's low. So, I mean, again, it kind of depends on the product. There's a lot of factors that are involved, but if 1 out of every 10 emails is getting a review, then you're in a pretty good spot. So yeah, so between 5 to 10% is what I'd say is what you should expect for feedback and reviews.
Right.
So.
And generally, do you find that people who either really like the product or really hate the product leave reviews? Are those the kinds of people who, tend to leave reviews? If they think the product is okay, they won't, go through the
Yes.
effort of leaving a review?
Yeah, it's those that are the most passionate. So just like if you go to a restaurant and you just love the service and the food was amazing,
Yeah.
you're more likely to leave a review. If you have a really bad experience, before you know it, your whole neighborhood knows about it,
Yeah.
and nobody's going there, and you tell everybody about the bad experience. But if it was just a kind of ho-hum experience at the restaurant, the food was good, it was what you expected, the service was okay, it's nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
So same thing with reviews on Amazon. We see similar things. It's, people are very passionate, and when they are, they'll write reviews, good, bad, or indifferent. So.
Absolutely makes sense. So eComEngine has this new tool where you actually automate the process of request to review. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? This is a new function that you've launched recently, is that correct?
Sure. So the request a review button that I mentioned is in Seller Central, but it's a very manual process because you have to go into each order and click the button. And when you have hundreds of orders, that's just a very time-consuming process. And to keep track of which ones you've requested for, which ones you haven't. So eComEngine worked very closely with Amazon to create a feature in FeedbackFive that will allow sellers to automate the request a review button. So there's a campaign in FeedbackFive that you can choose. You can still use buyer-seller messaging in FeedbackFive too if you choose to use that, but you could choose to use the request a review button campaign where all of your messages will be automated using the same system, the same messaging behind the request a review button. So in addition to using the same message that Amazon's using, FeedbackFive allows you to time your message. So, if you want that message to go out at 8 a.m. every day, or if you want to time it for certain ASINs versus other ASINs, you can also exclude certain orders like refunded orders. So you can set up some automation there in terms of the timing and what you want to exclude from requesting a review, so that you don't have to think about going into Seller Central for each order, evaluating, if that's the type of order that you want to request a review for or not. But again, it's a great way to ensure that you are not violating any Amazon policies because it's 100% TOS compliant. It's using the same exact message. Amazon is sending that message directly to your buyer. But this is just in an automated way to use that button. And again, buyers that are restricted from buyer-seller messaging can still use this. So that's very helpful.
Okay, that makes sense. So how long after a product has been purchased should you actually use this button or send this message out for a review?
So the button is only, you can only click the button or automate it to be sent between 4 and 30 days after the order is delivered. Okay. So that's the window of time that you're allowed to send the request. I always say that when you're deciding when to send a review request, it's really based on an ASIN level, because some products somebody purchases and they pick it up as soon as it's dropped on their doorstep, they can touch it, feel it, and they know they love it. Other products they might have to use for a week, or if you sell supplements or vitamins, they don't know the first day that they took the vitamin if they love it, right? Yeah. Or if it works. So you really have to evaluate your products and determine when is the best time to make that ask. Does it make sense a couple days after the order was delivered, maybe 2 weeks after the order was delivered, or maybe 3 weeks or so? If you're selling a printer, or some electronic, they might not get it set up that day. It might take them a few days to get the electronic all set up. And then once they've, set up their TV or their printer, and used it a couple times. So, give them a week in that case. So you want to make sure that you're trying to time your review based on the ASIN.
Right. So, did you say that it's between 4 and 30 days? So does that mean that you cannot request for a review using this button after 30 days of delivery?
That is correct.
Okay.
So that is the window of time for this button, right?
Okay. So that's important to keep in mind. And then using your tool, is it possible to customize, this at an ASIN level, the like when you want to send it, and do you automate it, entirely so that when the product is delivered, then the message goes out automatically, or how does what's the workflow like? Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So there's campaign rules that you can set up based on each ASIN. So you can say, for these vitamins and supplements, all of these ASINs, I want to send it at 8 a.m., and I want to send it 10 days after delivery. Maybe for, this stuffed animal, this teddy bear that I sell, I want to send, at 5 p.m. only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I'll send it 4 or 5 days after delivery. So you can set that up. You can also say, I want to exclude any refunded orders. So you can set up campaign rules as you're automating it.
Okay, that makes sense. So what are some other tips that you have for sellers to get more reviews on Amazon?
So there's a lot of other ways to get reviews. You can include product inserts in your product. You could utilize influencers. Reach out to influencers to promote your product off Amazon. You can use if you have your own website or social media platform, you can direct people to your Amazon listing just to drive more orders to your Amazon listing, to try to, more orders means more chance for reviews. So there's a lot of different ways to get reviews. Of course, buyer-seller messaging is still available as well. We actually have a guide, a strategy review guide that gives 9 different ways to get product reviews in addition to, the few that I mentioned today. Mm-hmm. So it's on our website. If you go to eComEngine.com/ebooks, then you'll see our product review strategy guide. So that's a great resource to take a look at. And then on our blog, which is eComEngine.com/blog, we have several recent blog posts about this new request a review button in Seller Central, and then also about the FeedbackFive feature that supports this and automates this. So those are great resources to take a look at if you're interested. And then we also offer a free 15-minute product review consultation with anybody that wants to talk about what they're currently doing, what challenges they're having, and if they want some tips for how to get more reviews. So sometimes it's just as simple as reviewing the message that you're sending through buyer-seller messaging, taking a look at the timing, just helping people, get started with some of these programs that Amazon offers, like the early reviewer or Amazon Vine. So we have a lot of resources on our site, and, feel free to contact me as well.
Awesome. So I'll also link to some of these resources, especially the ebook that you mentioned. I'll put that in the show notes as well. Okay. So, did you have a special offer that you wanted to, give to all of the podcast listeners over here today?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, we'll do free 15-minute product review consultations. So you can email me at Colleen, Colleen, at eComEngine.com, and we can set up a 15-minute consultation. And then we also offer a 30-day trial of FeedbackFive.
Okay, awesome. And I'll put all of this in the show notes as well, so it's easy for people to remember. Cool. Okay, that was really good, Colleen. Do you have anything else that you want to add, or any other comments you want to add before we wrap up over here?
I'd just say stay safe, just do what you can to optimize right now. Think long-term, not short-term. There's, it's, uncertain times right now. Everybody's kind of living day to day, not knowing what's coming next, but just think long-term, what you can do to make your business stronger long-term instead of thinking of the short-term if things are tight and tough right now. Think what can you do to try and help your business come out of this stronger in the end? So.
Absolutely. I think that's just so important. We have to be creative. And as entrepreneurs, I think we have that, built into us. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, Colleen, thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much for sharing all of this great information. And I hope to maybe meet you at another conference once all of the coronavirus dust settles.
Yes, I'd love to come to Hong Kong or to India or
Singapore. Awesome. All right, Colleen, you have a good day.
Thank you. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Take care. Bye.